Hello. Good evening, wherever you are. Good morning. I know someone is waking up right now. And good afternoon. Oh, you're doing so great. This is Boxpod, and it's officially another awesome episode. And today we've got a very special guest, and we're going to be unpacking things that speaking your mind at your own risk. That's the topic. So let's get into it. But before we do, remember, you must subscribe. You must like. Don't even ask us, why am I liking? Just like, share, because somebody needs to hear this. And of course, most importantly, remember to leave a comment. And remember, we've started our journey to 100,000 subscribers, and we're also trying to reach 100 episodes. So, welcome. How you doing?
Doing great.
Umetuvalia Brazil kwa sababu Arsenal sasa woi. See here.
Nah, don't even start. Don't even start. This jersey was actually signed by Arsenal players, so it's special.
Yeah, at least they know to sign. But Gallets. Who?
They said I show.
Easy, you'll show us in the post nini.
Martinelli.
You'll put a nini.
They said I saw.
Cut away. Run the tip.
Believe you, imagine.
Okay, Gabi. Okay, Martinelli. Interesting.
Now you know.
It's okay.
Met him?
I feel like if Martinelli can sign, can he kick? Can he score? Can he win? Yo, me, I'm telling you, I know why you've worn the Brazil jersey. Atijai mwona na jersey ingine except yours.
Sasa nikuuliza iko wapi jazi ya Arsenal? Acha ivae na while.
Pia mimi nilikuwa naambiwa hivyo like
okay.
yesterday night. Like when the game was happening, everyone was like,
Your jersey.
Mwaf, don't forget to wear the Arsenal jersey. Like, because after Real, we wore that. We wore
My
that
guys,
jersey.
see that's there even.
We were so happy with ourselves. But hey, that happened.
Yes. So, of course, without even a man who needs no introduction, we've been trying to be on each other's podcasts. Lakini sasa hiyo nilikuwa na kazi ya radio.
Understand?
So sasa kama
95 ni
Of course,
tricky.
anaelewa.
watu wa jobless sasa tunaweza fanya podcast. Watu wa jokani sasa tunaweza fanya podcast.
Informal sector.
Yeah, but Mwaf, it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Asanteni.
And very good job on your podcast. I'm a fan.
Thank you.
And I know I've told you that.
Yeah.
Guys, if you haven't watched Mwafreeka's podcast, we wacha kwa Mwafreeka ba.
Ekona.
Iko deni wewe.
Kama Mwafreeka hapa. Follow, like, subscribe, share.
Finally, like it.
And make sure you watch the episodes, but not now, because now you're watching Boxpod and Mwafreeka is here.
Yeah.
So guys, I wanted us to have this awesome conversation since we all have a history in media, and we are all out there. People expect your voice is something. But then there are moments you're unable to speak up for one reason or the other.
Yeah.
Right? And so our episode is titled Speaking Your Mind at Your Own Risk? ? Let me ask you, do you feel people need you to speak up on issues? Do you feel the pressure to speak up on issues, or you're just like, my life, my fame, I worked for this, nobody should. Hey, let's start with you, Joyce.
Do I feel the need to?
Like you see something is happening, you know that because I'm a voice and I have a voice, I should speak out against things. Speak up.
I usually speak up about things that are either I'm passionate about, close to my heart. I don't feel someone should be bullied into speaking up, because if it speaks to you, it speaks to you. Maybe there are some causes that are very close to me, and to you they're not that big of a deal, and there are some causes that are much bigger to you than they are to me. So me, I usually go with what I'm passionate about and what how I'm feeling about a certain topic. It's never been I'm speaking up because I need to do it because my voice is for no. I just do it because I feel it.
Carrie, do you feel the pressure? I mean, I saw during COVID, celebs were getting hammered. That guys were showing up to the streets. You know, they won. Guys have shown up. Mandamano.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you can see how my mind is like. I'm downloading a lot of things. Anyway, Mandamano. Day one, we were just a few of us on the street. Day two, it was a photo session.
Yeah.
And it almost feels, and a lot of people said that celebs almost nikawa walipatwa pressure to go. Do you feel pressure to speak up against or to speak on things?
Yes, I do. Especially the fact that if you are on a certain platform that so many people listen to you, definitely you know of things that people are going through, so you feel the pressure to speak up, speak your mind. But then again, there's this thing that people say, this is Kenya. You know, like if there's one thing that huwa inanikasirisha sana is that term, this is Kenya, because people use this is Kenya when you're feeling oppressed, you want to talk about it, but you know, if you talk about it, the repercussions towards you are going to be really bad. So you know what, this is Kenya. You're in traffic, you're running late going somewhere, this Mheshimiwa passes and overlaps with his car. You can't do that because, I mean, this is Kenya. So you let them go on and do it. So yeah, I do feel the pressure, but then again, this is Kenya.
Mwaf, same question, man. I mean,
I think my whole format is based on speaking on stuff. So normally, the problem I normally have is I don't want to tell people what they want to hear. So I feel like Kenyans want you to talk about stuff, but they want you to be part of like the echo chamber, just say the same things they've heard before. So because of that, me waga mostly I try to stop myself. I'm like, since my opinion is very different, wacha nitulia. Sitaki kuongea. I don't want to talk about it. But yes, my whole format has always been talking about issues. So to me, that's like just like a random Tuesday, random Monday, ni akisha mic. So saa zingine hii kitu ni akisha man, ntazushiwa sana, ntasema nimelipo. So now there's that whole debate around it. But yeah, I don't feel like I need pressure from watu. Sometimes kuna watu uniambia like we want you to talk about this, and then I'll look at the thing and see if I have enough content to talk about when it comes to that. But I've never felt the pressure of it. Let me do it because someone expects me to do it. Yeah. So
I've had people give me pressure on particular issues. They'd be like, yo, we need you to speak up on this. We need you to speak up on that. But I'm very clear about the things that I want to speak about. And also, I'm a human being. There's only so much I can speak about. I mean, today, you can imagine then, if it is about speaking up out on issues, then every day, every hour, there's so many things to talk about. But then I do understand that what I speak about has to come from what I am interested in and or what I care about.
Exactly.
Not to mean that the other things I don't care about. It's just that somebody else can talk about them. And I do see this as a big problem for a lot of celebrities. And I've seen people move out of their comfort zone to address things that they had no business talking about. But we'll get into that. But speaking up comes with consequences. Let's just be honest. There are two things that could happen. You can be cancelled, right? Which prior to internet was not a thing. Right?
It is people fear being cancelled, my guys, like being shot. You know, it's people are scared.
It's scary.
People are scared of
I
being
think I've been
cancelled.
cancelled a few times.
Like you
Tokea tuko eko nene, but you're still out there. Like, I took it too far. So, because I remember, like, this was last year. Last year, there's a time when Morara could do nothing wrong. I don't know if I remember that time.
Yeah.
So he said that he'd been called by the president, and I was like, this is not right. So for me, I was looking at it this way: if you're fighting this guy, that's the president.
Yeah.
You need to be as truthful as possible. And the minute that we start lying about stuff, it's like you're making them win. So I remember I just did a video. I was like, this is what I think happened. Nilienda kwa comments.
Cancelled.
Wow, ushonaga, it's like 100 comments and 90 comments are like, umbwa, nini,
Yeah.
like, we umelipwa, matako, what yet. So you're there thinking like, I've taken this thing too far. So, because as much as it's still a podcast, like for someone like me, it's still a job.
Yeah.
So, it's still, this thing still feeds me and does what. So, yeah, I've gone through that. And, so there's always that. And I think maybe before that was the Kibe one. So there's a time that Kibe, with Kibe, it was interesting because it was Anyiko first. So there's this joke I made. I think we were talking to Kagwe Mungai. So the joke was around, so Kagwe was like, girls have it very hard in the music industry.
Right.
And then mimi, na ilo ujinga yangu kuzmuaga mtu wa stats, nikasema, the only industry, girls are the highest paid and what, it's the porn industry. So just said it that way, left it at that. Anyiko akai understand that, I'd said girls can only thrive in porn. So, so now in the process, vile Anyiko alijam, mi nikailenga. But then Kibe decided to pick it up. So Kibe picks it up and just goes with it. This, be that, So, baadaye, Kibe akanyang'anywa YouTube. So, vile alinyang'anywa YouTube, nikadu video and I was like, for a YouTube channel that's making you like 2 million shillings a month, there needs to be a certain level of respect that you deal with it. So don't go kufaa kabisa nini. Sasa now ikakuwa Kibe alikuprotect from Anyiko, but sasa wewe uja protect Kibe. So now ikakuwa now
Ay.
Kibe's friend anaitwa the friend is called who? The friend is called IQ Watson. Started a campaign of unsubscribe from Ikonene. So like we lost like 1,500 subscribers.
What?
So he was actively doing that.
Jesus
But I think your time, I didn't care about that so much because it was those of, I think for us as men, the scary part normally might be when a woman tries to cancel you. Because what happens with that is there's always the pressure of, I feel like we live in a liberal world. And in the liberal world, there's the phrase, believe women. You know that phrase? And that phrase is tricky because not every woman is telling the
It's
truth.
true.
So I think now the last time your cancellation really happened was around was it the Boina issue? Boina Kibe. So vitu zangu mob zimekuwa around Kibe. Let's stray.
Oh my God.
Just cutting
Nothing to do with you directly.
So even like a few, was it last week? I got like a community guideline strike because of something Kibe said on the podcast yangu. But I take blame for it because we were talking about Ruto abductions and blah blah blah. So he said he understands why. So sitasema the same thing, but he said anaelewa. After kusema anaelewa, the next thing is you're putting your community at risk. So I got a community strike for that. But now going back to the Boina issue, it was the story of Kibe shows up on
On her
Boina's
post,
show.
yeah.
Yes.
I remember that.
They have this conversation. So I was like, if she invited him to the show, then she knows what she's getting.
It's true.
But then I came and found out that hakumu invite. But when I did the original video, if she invited him, I was like, first of all, amesema she's 32 years old. Since she's 32, it means she's a grown woman. She knows what she's doing. So then came to find out she's 26. Lakini before that, nika make mistake. Ile, like nili explain, siku make mistake. I explained it in context kabisa.
Yeah.
Ile nikisema, women also grow up. So, but in the story, nikapatia an example, like if we were to go back in time, like right now, you'll be in your 20s still being treated like a child, yes? But back in the days, people used to become adults mapema. So nikasema, like for example, my mom got married at 17. Now some girl took that up and said, Mwafreeka is supporting pedophilia. So now, you have to start thinking like, I want to support pedophilia na sijui. I actually thought about that. I was like, I'm gonna support because my dad at that point was 20, my mom was 17. This is 1968. I'm sure to me 20 right now is a kid. I don't want my kid to get married at 20. So there are people who are doing guesswork. But yeah, ended up in a situation where I was doubting if I actually support pedophilia or not. So I think that's also like one of the things that happens with e-platform here too. You'll start doubting yourself. You're like, I actually support, because she convinced me that I support pedophilia.
Yeah.
They're like, damn. Oh, okay. So
And you see, this actually feeds into what we're talking about, that when it comes to freedom of speech, is there really freedom, or is it an illusion? Because, you know, the restrictions that were on you or are there now. So initially, like if there was a broadcaster in the 90s, all they had to care about was Communications Authority.
yes.
That's it.
Right? Who will be the one who maybe somebody has, nimesikia asema kitu mbaya. And then they'd send, and then they would investigate. And then, you know, there would be, there's systems, there's structures, there's the way it goes.
Yes.
But now with cancel culture, I mean, the judge, the executioner, and everybody is there.
It's immediate.
It's immediate. You could lose everything in just a flash of a moment. Then that makes people be I mean, if you have to go through all that, right, all those things, do you ever sit sometimes and just go like, maybe I should just play? Because it makes you now be very, there's only so much I can speak about. I mean, are you comfortable right now to speak on pedophilia?
Yeah, I spoke about it. Like
Yeah.
I did a video. I don't know. I'm sure maybe you guys had Ruto pardoned like some 63.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started, man.
With a child.
My guy.
So I did a whole piece about it because at the end of the day,
Please just repeat that, because I feel like I've interrupted. And
there's this guy.
Yeah,
was,
I'm like,
when he was 63 years old, he defiled a 4-year-old kid. 4 years old.
Yes.
And then the president pardoned him 14 years into his sentence.
That was last week.
Sindio? Yes. Yes. So I did a whole thing about it because, at the end of the day, I know that I don't support pedophilia. And I came to understand like one thing with especially liberal America is we can take your words and twist it into anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that, and the liberal wave is so powerful because of Hollywood that it ended up infecting everywhere. Like all of us who classify ourselves as woke, if you look down, you will notice there's a certain level of influence from Hollywood. Like your views are influenced by this and this.
Absolutely.
So with that, that's when I realized like people will say you've said something that you've not said. So as long as you try and play by the rules. But even when I did that thing about pedophilia, I was actually checking my words. I was making sure like I don't say anything that's outside whatever. So yeah, we just talked about that, how a president can pardon someone who's done something like that, because that's a crime you can't forgive.
Absolutely.
That and murder you
That
can't. But
shouldn't.
so yeah, I'm still able to talk about it. And I feel with the political backlash, I don't feel as hurt as something like pedophilia, because especially when you have a
That's
child,
personal.
alafu mtu akuambia una support kitu kama hiyo, and kuna watoi, you have nieces, you have nephews, it changes your whole thing. Yeah.
Is there always a fear of being taken out of context? Because with the way media is right now, it's not just one platform. There's so many different platforms. Like we're doing this for YouTube, it can be clipped to be put on social media, and sometimes people are taken out of context through that clipping part, where
Depending how it was edited.
yes, how it was edited. Because
Or they want to clickbait.
yeah, you can have a 30-minute conversation that it can be narrowed down to 15 seconds. So they pick yes, they pick that 15 seconds, not the part where you explained it, but how you said it and how you put it out and the emotions in that video. So is there that constant fear that
I can tell you for sure. I can tell you for sure. When I was starting radio, because I started, now it's obvious, 13 years ago. When I got into radio, I was very privileged because I had started from Big Brother, where I had all the things that I wanted to say.
Yeah,
I'd
you
said
said
them.
that.
So your aunties, your grandmom, the presidents, the ministers, everybody in the world at least knows she's already said, she's gotten it off her chest, right?
Ulisema kutoka.
Before that, I had the privilege of being a reporter. So by the time I'd got into radio, if I had come from a place where I'd never been a journalist, they were, those journalistic tenets were sort of they make it like that's as far as you can go. There's an imaginary wall of, even like flat earthers, they think if you keep going, there's the end. This is as far as I can go. There are things like I can say, but you have to know how to say them. So as I grew in radio, what it did is it made me know how to structure every single thing that I say. Right? I don't have to write it, but I have to have a relationship between my brain and my mouth. So I can because I know I have cultivated that relationship.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, in the past 3 years, something shifted. And I even started having something called, what did we call it? Which is a thing I never imagined I'd ever struggle with. You told me what it was.
What is it?
Basically, I started doubting myself.
Imposter
syndrome.
Okay.
Let me tell you. Okay, first, men don't ever understand it because men don't struggle with imposter syndrome. Apparently, according to data, men, because of the way you're conditioned, you never struggle with it. Nikitu, yani, this is your world. This is.
It's a man's world.
Successful women, 99% of successful women, top CEOs, top bosses, everybody you see, a woman who is breaking
all barriers.
Yeah.
So it just started hitting me, and I'd find myself when I'd be on air. I'd say something. Guys, I trust myself. But then I start thinking about, have I offended? Have I? And it's a voice in the back there that literally just starts growing. And so I just started asking myself, if I keep moving like this for another 20 years, si akili itachoka.
Nice.
Nilikuwa you find yourself getting tired. You've done a show 4 hours, then I spend another 4 hours combing through everything. So, but I don't have that here. I would have it on air. And I think it was because it's how fast-paced, it's how people consume stuff, it's how it can be misconstrued because I don't have time to explain it deeply. And here I'm just like, removing, you're thinking you're being smart with it, but then mtu anai understand literally. You know what I'm saying? Hey, so
Alafu anaamua, let's cancel.
you know, so yeah. But I've been very lucky. The only time this has ever happened is in a time, and alluding to how I trust the relationship between my mouth and my brain.
Yes.
So I was on Kiss, right? And it was a nice morning. As usual, I'm there dancing to music. I play a song and I'm like, you guys, I don't care that you're not feeling Nigerians. And those were my exact words.
Yeah.
I don't care that you are not feeling Nigerians, but this music is slapping. That's all I said. I wasn't on air. I was, and again, alluding to, I know where to say what to say where,
Yeah.
right? So I did that. And do you know how
The
the...
femicide thing.
Yes.
Yeah, not
Turned out it wasn't
All
even
of a sudden, it was me.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, all the anger is on me.
Yeah.
Number two, all of a sudden, it's Nigeria. By the note, the very previous, like 2 days before, it was the Kisii guy. Remember the Kisii guy who had done her review stuff in an Elini?
Yeah.
Matara.
Matara.
Yes.
That's a Kisii guy. Before that, there was a Kao guy. Right? Nobody called for cows to be cancelled. Nobody called for Kisiis to be cancelled. Right?
Yeah.
But then when it came to the suspect who was, no Nigerian was arrested.
Wasn't even confirmed.
Okay? And that case, you know how it has gone? Me, I follow it. Most Kenyans don't even follow it. Right? Most Kenyans don't follow it. There is still a Nigerian suspect in that list.
It's a Kenyan.
You understand me? So now, when you see all this unfolding, people wanted me to apologize. Right?
Yeah.
Doing hard
I got called from, like, clients were calling me.
Guy.
Brands. Right? They were saying, yo, you got to say something otherwise. And I'm just like, guys, I say something about what? That I'm sorry you guys misunderstood things, misconstrued. I'm sorry you guys have a what do you call it? That you guys are xenophobic. Because that's what
Yeah.
is emerging, that Kenyans are xenophobic, right? I got calls from international media that wanted me to do interviews about xenophobia in Kenya.
Oh.
You understand?
Yeah.
So an issue that has come from anger, from guys want you to apologize for a femicide. Guys, did I do it? And then the worst part about it all, because I highlighted some names, you know, I went to the Nini list, great. This personality, this partner, okay, great. Let's see you show up for the femicide walk
Yeah.
on the streets. They weren't there.
They were nowhere.
They were nowhere in
nowhere
sight.
to be seen.
So these are the
shouting
things
on
that
the
make you
internet.
realize, in that moment, was I afraid? I mean, it was a lot. I wasn't afraid, but I don't like being, what's the word? I don't like when the thing that I'm presenting overtakes. I overtake.
like the actual show.
You understand, right? Like me now, the individual overtakes Boxpod or overtakes the conversations that we're having.
Yeah.
I've never been that person to put me in front of the work.
Right.
Yes.
So I just found it a bit unnerving that the whole nation, everybody's talking. I was training in Nigeria.
Lying.
Oh, damn.
Because remember, you guys were attacking?
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
So I was training in Nigeria as well.
Yeah, like your whole point was like, guys, there's like famous.
How Nigerians
Can
are
we-
supporting
can we
you?
focus on-
What's happening?
They didn't necessarily quite understand what was going on, but they were attacking, they were defending themselves. And then,
of course, and you are the center of the.
I was at the center of the everything.
Yeah.
But at the in all this, what it taught me is that this power that is called, because again, I said, communications authority is the reason why we used to speak. You speak, you know that communications authority, even if you say the whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't go on radio and say, kill, die.
Yeah.
But like you say whatever, they are the ones who come and tell you, hey, over here, mukai mukesi, and you say, oh, okay, there's a mistake, because things can come out. But now you can't have a mistake. There's no mistake that you can make.
Yeah.
If somebody points out or somebody, and nowadays you notice that people listen because they're trying to set you up.
Yes.
They're waiting for you to
Those
say that
ones,
crazy
yeah.
thing so that they come at you. So these things, if you look at them the way we are going, then, and I've seen it even in America, comedians used to speak about whatever.
Yeah.
Now, comedy is drab.
Yeah.
Why?
How many times has Dave Chappelle been cancelled because of just speaking?
All the things that, all the comedy that I have from like when I was at Toi, I can't repeat those things out loud in public.
Yeah. Because there were some funny jokes that right now, wow.
People are doing successful.
And then also, do you feel like people online are like what you've said? People listening, just trying to see how they can be able to set you up. Is it on, like, when things are online on social media, like people are always ready to get their pitchforks out, other than if it's
In real life.
in real life, or you do it on radio,
Yeah.
where it's only CAK who are going to be
No, but even
listening,
on
you're
radio,
waiting.
the biggest fear, my fear wasn't communications authority.
Yeah.
It was the people. It was this.
It was someone picking up that
interact-
one line and like making it a headline.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember how Shafi and
Yes.
them left radio,
Yeah.
right? And yes, around that time is when I started being very sensitive with what I'm saying on air. Well, I don't think I'm sensitive. Actually, I don't think sensitive is the word. Inside my head, I'd beat myself up for everything that I said,
Yeah.
right? But you remember, how swift was it, guys?
Yeah.
Hey.
Right? Where was
Immediate.
communication authority in that?
No,
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but in fact, were they reacting to communications authority or were they reacting masses?
To the people.
To the masses, the people online.
You call it the woke generation,
Yeah.
right? And we understand the wokeness, what's going on. It was supposed to be a good thing, but now they
It's a double-edged sword.
Taking it.
You know, it comes with its good side and it comes with like its complete worst side.
So
You know
what
I
does
mean?
freedom of expression look like in such a space where you're afraid? Because if the meaning of freedom is, I see something, speak about it.
Yes.
Right? I stand for whatever the truth is.
Yeah.
Because your truth is not the same as my truth. But you say, for example, how many things are happening in this country? Have you seen what's happening with the demolitions?
Yeah.
Right? Here in Madare, and they say they're trying to save Nairobi River. They're called Commission, Nairobi River Commission.
Yes.
Shout out to you guys. Answer me, riddle me this. They started Uko, Huruma, Madare, everyone on the Nairobi River. Pangani skip. Right?
They skipped Pangani.
Why? See, those ones are also by the river.
Yeah.
Right? So when you see the number of homes, schools, people who've been left homeless, right? Who to speak for them? If even your members of parliament are having a censorship, speaking out can get you cancelled.
Yeah.
Speaking out can get you abducted. Speaking out can get you problems.
Yeah.
So is there really freedom of speech in that perspective?
I actually don't feel that it's there. But there's another way to look at it. Online, for example, the government won't come after you if you're not influential enough. Yes? And the same thing with the public. If you're very small, you won't be as attacked as the bigger you get. So we talked about religion. So she's anti-religion, I'm anti-religion. So we expected backlash. I think this was like my episode 31, 32. So I expect like a lot of hate because of that. Zero hate. Then we start growing. The politics, no one talks. As soon as we reach a certain level, people can talk about ikonini. Now that's when I started seeing the criticism. You have to watch what you say. Unadhara watu, you are disrespecting people. So I've come to realize that the more successful you become, the less freedom of expression you have. Like now everyone wants to cancel you. When you're still coming up, it's like,
Nobody cares.
nobody cares. You see, so even now for online, remember everyone was talking like Ruto this, Ruto that. Then one guy, Kibet Bull, became the one guy that everyone was copying. Who was abducted?
Yeah.
Kibet Bull. So I think that's how you look at freedom of expression. It's how influential are you, how successful are you? Yes, the more successful you become, the more people are going to gun for you. As long as you're down there, like anyone right now who has like 10 subscribers and they've started a podcast, they have all
whatever
the
you want.
freedom in the world. When if that video goes viral, they have all the freedom. The minute that people feel like, you know what, this thing is getting somewhere, now it's, he's changed. So that's how I look at it.
So how does somebody who, because I'm looking at the future and I'm like, okay, cool. We come from a place where, even having a podcast is freedom of expression.
Yes.
There are places, fun fact, you can't even start a podcast. Fun fact, there's no even media broadcasts.
Yes.
Like they've funded the Sudan. You understand? I'm sure
Even our neighbors, Uganda, TZ, Rwanda, you can't have this level of freedom.
Yeah. But guys, things haven't always been like this. Can we just be honest?
Yeah.
Like, I think we're getting to a place that's more retrogressive. And if you look at like, if the role of you've been given an audience.
Yes.
The audience, you gotta speak for the audience, because what then is being famous is for what now? Being a public figure. What's the point if you cannot be able to speak up? If it's about taking photos and whatnot, if it's about just being seen, I mean, we have members of parliament who are still in parliament right now,
Yes.
right? We can pick the very best. Actually, in here, I can pick 2 members of parliament.
Yeah.
Mwingine even has a father who's there. We know, right? Here, somebody says, okay, fine. Mwaf says, you guys don't worry, I got you. I'll go in there. I'll speak.
I'll represent.
I say, fine.
Twende.
Si tusimame na Mwaf kwanza niko nene. Nafikisha mpaka huko mazee. Halafu utasikia the most silent person you've ever met. Am I lying?
Fuck.
Yes. All members of parliament, even the ones I expected to say
The
something.
outspoken ones and yeah.
This has to be the most quiet parliament I've ever had.
Yeah.
Guys are not saying anything.
Navi.
And I don't want to get into the politics of it.
Yes,
I want to talk about this thing that we're talking about. People are afraid of being cancelled,
Yeah.
right? Now people are speaking where the pocket is being lined. Staki kusema Kaluma, but
Yes.
Subua,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Where the pocket is being lined. Those are the only people who are speaking. So is the fear coming from the audience, the employers, or the state? Because even in workplaces, I've seen people who will not even speak up on something that's happening in their office. We're all just being dulumiwali. The boss will come and say, now from tomorrow, 75% is what I'm paying you.
Yeah.
All right? Okay. Nobody will say
That's the
anything
same
there.
thing.
It's almost like we're becoming very docile, afraid of the consequences. And this becomes a huge, huge issue.
I think poverty, it's scary.
It's scary.
So I think that one I understand. The one where I see workers being harassed and they just keep quiet. Sometimes I feel like for some of us who are semi-self-employed, we might look at people who are fully employed and judge them in some sort of way. And I'm saying semi because even for us, we are not self-employed. Any moment, as we said, you can be cancelled,
You know,
deplatformed, like you said something wrong and then
people start unsubscribing.
you're back to scratch. So with that, the one for the office, I normally understand. You'll find like maybe like normally, I think we were saying this before we started, the way salary makes you so comfortable.
Yeah.
So you might end up upgrading your lifestyle to a certain level that
If you lose
without that
job,
salary, the next month you're in the streets.
Honestly.
So hapo utaenda, the boss is disrespecting you, treating you like a child, and you just take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
honest
that happens.
experience.
Imagine, but the day I knew I was an adult is when I realized that dad used to come home upset. Chances are because the employer, mazee ametoka kumwongelesha huko kama mtoi. You know?
And it's a grown-ass man, the children.
Yeah. But now that we've talked about this, clearly it's getting less and less. So we don't expect you. When you see a celeb amefungua mdomo huko amesema, wajinga nyinyi.
Yeah.
Jwe, that person has literally they've said, forget the backlash, forget the criticism.
Gotta say what I want
Let me get I don't care. I'm going to say what I have to say.
Yeah.
But where does it cross from bullying and criticism, especially online, right? Where do you feel like, I'm listening to you saying on your comment section, people coming in, calling you matako, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Where is the criticism? Where do you now draw the line? Here I'm being criticized, and here I'm being bullied.
I don't know. Funny enough, I've never looked at it as being bullied or being criticized. I've always looked at it as just someone trying to cancel me, being cancelled. Because bullying, I feel like it's someone who'll say some bullshit and they're not invested in you getting deplatformed or what.
But
So for
isn't
me-
cancelling, didn't you argue that cancelling is someone wanting to bully? Yeah.
Like it's the ultimate level of.
Because let me put it like this.
Yeah.
If I come on your page, right, criticism looks like this. Mwaf, yeah, I don't agree with you on this.
Yes.
Yeah, right? Okay. Bad criticism, because there's constructive criticism and then there's just hii podcast hapa hakuna kitu ya maana unasemanga. That is just unconstructive criticism.
Yes.
But then bullying is, I've come to your page, or rather maybe I saw a clip somewhere and somebody had, of course the way we say this has been cut in a weird way. And then I come on your page and I'm just like,
This one said
and now I'm just like, this needs to be cancelled. Cancelled. They want to cancel you. So cancelling can be argued as bullying.
Yes. Well, okay. I'd look. Maybe I've not looked at it that way, but I think even right now, I think this is less than 24 hours ago. There's something I've done. What did I do? I think I talked about.
You don't even remember 20
Yes.
Your mouth, you're offended.
Yeah. No offend mtu. So I think I talked about I was talking about the shoe being thrown at the president.
Right.
So I was like,
Surely.
yes.
Mshukiwa hapa vile.
Yeah. So nikasema hii kiatu ikirushwa, if it actually happens that way, like the way people were saying it happened, I was saying that we as civilians would lose more than Ruto, because then we'd open an avenue for political violence, and the police have the monopoly of violence, the government has the monopoly.
Love
So
and
they would
reason
love
to
that,
be
that
violent. Yeah.
We start violence, we
Yes,
are
yes,
going
yes.
to lose out. So someone goes in the comments, you go like, umelipwa na Naruto. Well, I think it's still there. It's one of the top comments. I think nilituka na cheka. Umelipwa, umbwa.
Guy.
Hey, alafu they finished with pia unajua na untouchable kama kibe. Pia we tunakungoja hapa. Sisi na
Guy. That's
so I'm
really
there zile za okay, but the only difference ni ile tunaambia say if you go the violence route, the president is winning because he has the police.
Exactly.
So you've told them facts, but since anataka, you tell them that yes, let's start throwing like stones at the president, and you see that's what they want to
Yeah.
But when you think about it, like if you start throwing, you've heard about what happened in 1969
Tell us.
in Kisumu.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
What happened?
Jaramogi and Jomo start fighting, sindio?
Yeah.
And then Luo's weapon of choice is what? Stones. So the next thing is Jaramogi akienda, watu wakarusha mawe, and it's the 1969 massacre. It's one of the things that's never spoken about.
Yeah. Do you know what? Do you know what he did? He was on the podium, right? So he was on the podium already at this point. Him and the VP, who was Jara.
Yeah.
Jara is like what I call Jaramogi.
It's okay.
Yeah. Spell it. Call him Mogi Mogs.
Mogs.
So Mogi Mogs was chilling on the podium with him, right? So him is addressing guys, but then apparently he was agitating guys as well. That's the story.
Okay.
So as he's talking, guys felt like he had disrespected Jara, as we're digressing into politics.
Yeah.
I love politics.
That's a nice but
So he had so allegedly they felt like he was disrespecting him. He was positioning him to get him out of parliament, out of Gava, and da-da. So their beef had reached like fever pitch. And then now he's come to Kisumu for the very first time, right? So he's there, he's talking to people, da-da-da. And you know, this is Mzee. Again, this is not even Ruto. This is Mzee.
you know.
Okay? He's the founder, like,
You know what I mean?
money.
No?
Hiyo kitu nimefu- ni
Niko kwa inoti.
pesa yake kwa mfuko iko kwa. So he's addressing guys, and then guys start throwing stones. The guy got mad, furious. Listen, you don't want to see a president furious. You don't want a president say, "Oh, okay," and then he entered his moti, and the popo descended on Kisumu. Guys were being given in the house. You know these things you usually see in the yes, yeah. Then as in guys, you have to pay. You cannot start throwing stones at the president. You couldn't have created in 2025.
No.
Yeah. So
Stop it.
yeah, what was the audition? It's like one of the untold stories za Kenya. So even when I did that,
Interesting.
because there's something you may bring across when you talked about how they went into the houses. When I talked about it, I talked about that collective punishment.
Oh,
That this is what's going to
Jesus
happen.
Christ.
If you start violence with the government, there's going to be this collective punishment thing where they know this area, you're not loved. So you're just going to come in, do whatever we are going to do. And who is going to investigate? It's the government itself. So I was just saying that let's not go
be
the violence
careful.
route.
Yeah.
It looks really good with the memes and the what. But when you think about it, the government would love us to go violent.
Yeah.
So
And it's so interesting that while the BBC guys were getting arrested and while the Shubaru guys were getting assured of accommodation by the state, the pedophile was getting
Pardon. Like, how disgusting is that, my guy?
a 63-year-old with a 4-year-old. And you think there's a world where that's okay.
Well, that is okay.
Forgivable.
Yeah.
I mean, we can unpack femicide in a whole. I mean, there's an episode, by the way, that's coming out on Circling the Rabbit Hole. And guys, you have to watch that. That's Dr. Claire Kinuthia. And we actually there. We spoke about femicide in-depthly. But I remember one thing, just before we continue, is that this issue of femicide cannot be tackled in a nonchalant way. And even, you know, if you ask the average Kenyan why this is not an issue, is because most people see it from a very different lens. right? So I'm asking all of us to come to the table. Make sure you watch that episode on Circling the Rabbit Hole. In fact, after you finish watching this, please subscribe so that when the episode comes out, you are with it.
Yeah, like we'll get a lot of realizations. And also before we continue, I think there's something that we haven't really realized. And I just want to bring it to the table. So maybe you guys help me figure it out. So between Mogi Mogs, Jara, and Rao, nani ni baba?
I knew it.
I knew it was something.
Yes, for real. Ask it.
It to be something serious.
Nani ni baba? So baba ni mtoto.
We,
Like-
ni babu sasa una babu, weka babu hapo ndani. Sasa uliza babu ya babu ni babu. Na, we, wacha kutusumbua.
Anyway, so let me add something that is actually useful. You, when you figure out your riddle, you tell us. We don't want to know. I feel like for me, the difference between criticism and bullying, because I've faced both, is criticism, there's always a backing behind it. You know, they're like, oh, I didn't like how you did ABCD. The sound was not this. Or like when you talked about this, I felt like you were being... Like there's something... They're saying, okay, I hear what you said, but maybe try this differently. And even you as the content creator, you'll be like, they have a point. You know, but bullying is just someone coming to tell you, your teeth are even crooked. I'm like, okay, so what does that have to do with my video? You know what I mean? Like, what has my physique? Because me, I've been attacked for my physique, and it was just something to do with like a video. Like, remember the whole... there's a meme, video I made about Annie from...
Oh,
Real famous.
Guys coming for like how I look physically, and I didn't even do anything. Like I mocked a certain movement that this, you know, Annie Idibia.
Yes.
There was something like she was doing. Yeah, sorry, she's changed her name. So all I did is I went and like I didn't even say a single word in that video. I just went and mimicked what she was doing. All of a sudden, I am wishing her unwell. Oh, she has children. How can you treat her like that? You are the devil. Oh, your teeth are crooked. I'm like, my guy. Bro, like, do you know what is it that she's going through and you're bullying her? I'm like, I didn't bully her. You know, like now that was bullying, but it was really funny. In the past, I would have probably tried to defend myself. But in the past, I also have received a lot of criticism, especially as a content creator, as a first-time host. And there's a lot of things that were said. And yes, they hurt, like Zilini Pinch. But they made me a better host. They made me a better content creator because there's some people who actually had important things to say. And I implemented them. And now people like my content better or like my videos better. But coming for me personally and saying, oh, this is why women can never win because other women are always taking other women down. I'm like, what? That has nothing to do with the video I made, guys. So yeah, I feel like that would be a good distinction between bullying and criticism.
So we're pushing an event. So that was in November, December. January, February is when I was training. I think it was February or January. End of January. So what had happened was the person who was paid. So imagine, so you know, they don't have an office. They're like 30 of them. And then there's this one guy. So this one guy is the one who assigned. See, we pay him. He didn't pay anyone.
He did?
He paid with all the cash. So now see, mimi sasa najua nani.
You moved on. Yeah.
The guy who needed. And so nobody is telling me that these things are happening behind the scenes. I had somebody who was working in that capacity, the event person. So she's telling me, oh, by the way, so something happened. I'm like, what? That time I've been already threatened on Twitter by these guys. They're like, wait. Because not, if for those who followed the beef, I posted the video, it was okay. 24 hours. Nobody said a thing. Guys even commented, posted, it was on for over 24 hours. Then 36 hours in is when the mini started. Then it was just them. They started the hashtag, and then now guys jumped on it.
Yeah.
You understand?
That's
so
malicious.
that's exactly personal attacks. And I see it all the time. I see someone getting, like a blog just starts writing some nonsense. And I know they couldn't have been the ones because we know fame celebrities in Kenya.
Yes.
And their relationship with blogs and bloggers. Right? They're those ones who live in the blog. So I know. I know you. I know you're going to them, right? Which is okay. I don't have a problem with that. But if you haven't asked for this negative publicity, sometimes it is somebody who has started the campaign. As soon as
that's crazy.
Now, in that scenario, how do you turn this around? Do you attack it? Well, in my case, I decided not to say anything. In fact, I said, not in a bad way, but I continued my life as normal, and infuriate people even more because they're like, oh, you're still
You're not saying anything.
you know, I didn't post.
Tell me my life to stop.
Right. So how do you handle this negative? I've seen, for example, you mentioned the issue with the lady criticizing you, the pedophilia. You decided to.
Yeah, so with that, I decided to let me just address the Boina story again. She ended up addressing it from a different perspective. But mostly, the ones where it's just pure hate, I just have fun with it. So I'll just have that moment where, like even with the violence against the president, I finished telling people like, I'll never tell you what you want to hear. Nitakuwa tu nikikaa hapa nikisema eko nene, then pointed out on that kilogo cha iko nene, the one on the wall. So that's how I look at it. Like, is this something that's worth addressing? Like where, yes, it makes sense that someone misunderstood what you said. Or is it something that it's just a player hater or something? Because even that also reminds me of around your time, the Kibe time, because that was also a very interesting time. So I remember like one of the jokes I'd made was like the way if I was living in America, for example, and I'm getting paid 2 million shillings a month, and someone came and told me that their 2-year-old kid identifies as a girl or a boy, I'd be like, oh, okay, I would not even comment on it. I'll be like, yeah, you ni maisha yako, misi. And what I was trying to put across was the fact that liberal America had made it in such a way that I can show up here with my beard and just say, I identify as she. I need to follow the two of you to the toilet, and there's nothing wrong with that. You see, so that's what I was trying to put across. The way it was put on social media. Support homo ya watoi. You see now, you see the way, and that's what runs. Everything else inapotea.
Yeah, everything else you said doesn't matter.
Yeah, like even someone that I took as a friend jumped on that and they commented on Twitter. And I remember wondering, and that's the time now I connected. I was like, when you start being successful, that's when this happens. When that time
I never really a friend to a guy.
300 views, hakukuwa na hiyo shida. Because we made worse jokes.
Yeah.
Like, because siku za kwanza, like I'd say the first 10 episodes with Zach, we used to
something that you definitely cannot repeat now.
Jokes zingine mpaka tuko like shit, ama tutatafuta after hapa. Chiki. And then saa hizi everything you're saying you have to think about it. So now the thing is, if it's pure hate, no address. If it's something that I understand that maybe someone might have misunderstood, then I can address it. If something that I can just mock people and make people angry, because now I think at some point you realize like you guys are headed to 100K. Yeah? You'll realize that out of this 100K, the true core fan base is maybe 20K. Then you have these other 80 who come for other things. And these 80 are the ones who will make you lose focus because they are the ones who've come to nitpick like, hapo umesema nini, hapo umesema. But then kuna wale ni hardcore. Well, hata even if you offend them, they'll be there like, you ni yeye.
That's no need.
Yes,
okay.
yes. But you've not done it like maliciously or something. So as soon as you realize that, it becomes very peaceful. Where you're like, kuna most of these people. And it's worldwide, I think. I see like there's some guy who has the Diary of a CEO podcast.
Steven is getting...
Yeah. So I saw him.
He's
like,
getting backlash.
Bro, like every episode he releases, like there's a time he got backlash for having doctors on the, you know, because they're all the people, these doctors for the internet.
I saw the MacG one. But with the MacG one, I felt like MacG is also doing something that you shouldn't do. The bigger you grow also, you have to have a certain level of self-restraint. So I don't know if you guys follow MacG anyway. You know him. At least the biggest podcaster Africa. You know, at least Podcast and Chill. Oh,
Podcast and Chill. What you talking about? He did get a lot of backlash, South Africa.
So with him, I felt like, so MacG starts, like there's this even when the show is starting, the montage, you hear him saying, oh, we got 150 views. So you see, like, that's where they started.
Yeah.
Right now, they have 1.2 million subscribers. So now you have 1.2 million subscribers. I think around 4 years ago, some chick called Mini Lamini came out and said, MacG is the R word. No, she's the R word. When she said that, what he said is just call out. Like, I want you to bring out one woman who said, I've done that. There was the story of the chick. She dated this person. She was dumped, dated this, so much they broke up. So he's there podcasts. Suongea gojinga. So what's wrong with Mini? Could it be that her coochie spouse?
Oh my God! But he really pushes the envelope.
Yeah.
No,
So when you hit that, now kwa comments ni YouTube, you need to ban this guy, what. So me normally, me na ujinga yangu ntangalile check inakuja and then I'll just go and cut that part out. Because you can still
Yeah.
him, he just left it. And I was there thinking, I'm like, I'm not going to risk, because him, the fact that it's essay, so the ads are more expensive and what.
Yeah.
I'm sure he makes at least maybe $30,000 per month from this. I'm not risking it just to take
just to get
swipe
back at one person.
So I felt like for him, there are a certain level where you have to self-censor because
True.
of the bigger picture. Don't.
True.
Yeah.
And I
Also-
like that you've brought that, because there has to be a level of responsibility, even from an individual perspective, that there are things I want to say, or I feel some type of way. And even here we do a lot of self-censorship, a lot,
Yeah.
because you can say something, it's what you mean to say, but because you are on a platform,
Yes.
Yeah.
you have to be very careful about how you say what you're saying. Censorship, self-censorship ni muhimu. Very important. And responsibility of the words that come out. Because I feel like sometimes someone says something, I've seen the flip side where someone says something and then they're
Taken another way.
and then they're surprised that people have misconstrued it, and if they are being honest to themselves, they didn't take a moment to think about it. Was those ones for where vibes have flown, and podcasts we see that all the time.
It happens. Yeah.
I may have foot in mouth syndrome, but
Yeah.
Sheila has censored me so many times. I'm just like, oh, I can't. Because you think like a journalist, and me, I just like, I'm a very filtered version of myself when I am here.
Yeah.
And Kwambox is the one who usually calls me out most of the time. I'm like, oh, I have to restructure what I just said.
Yeah.
The politics is dangerous, yes. But with the politics, how I normally look at it is like last week when that Were guy was,
Popped.
yes, I was there thinking about it, and I'm like, I think the first thing that came to mind me, I hope there's no life after death. And the reason why I thought that was, when you're dead, you're gone. We ujui. Watu wamebaki nyuma ndio deal na hiyo. Because unajua, you don't want to be the dead guy thinking like, sa kwa nini criticize ase wakaamua kuniua. You understand? Yeah, because I think it might reach that level. Because we always treat power like this thing that people can just hand over. But when you look at what people are ready to do to keep power, now you have to start thinking like podcasts. Because with podcasts, we don't care so much about rules or this or that. You just speak about everything and you give your opinion. Like, this is what has happened. This is my opinion on it, and let's go. But with mainstream media, you have to think like, if I say this, maybe this won't happen. Like, for example, I think I was talking about the Shah scandal. So there's this guy who does a podcast called Coffee Pump Podcast. I don't know if you know him. Some Indian guy called Sajid Vayani. Very interesting guy. So he works at a data center. So I was asking him, like, what's the maximum amount of money Shah can cost? Like, if you spent everything and you created the best Shah computer system, like data center in the world, and he said $100 million. Do you know how much we spent as a Kenya government?
Triple.
800 million.
What?
Not
even triple.
Like 700% more. And when you're looking at this, you're like, this means that every time you're talking about this, you're talking about a heist here, at least 91 billion.
My guy.
Like 91 billion was stolen. So you see, when you're talking about it on a podcast, you can just take it lightly. But the people who got this 91 billion don't want you telling Kenyans that the most amount of money that should have been spent is 13 billion. You see, so hey, guys are stealing, man. Like that's why, like, I don't know about, but I don't respect politicians. Like, mostly on there, like, you just stole it.
To be honest,
Nothing you should.
and sorry, just I'll let you say. Just go back on that.
Yeah.
Do people actually care about you speaking up? I'll tell you. I'll ask why. Because when I look at a guy like Morara,
Yes.
I mean, he's just highlighting all the corruption.
Yeah.
Literally, that's his podcast.
Yes.
And wanaiba. Okay, if that's what people want to hear, then his podcast, he would be the man of the people.
Yes.
But if anything, we're seeing him getting flack.
Yeah.
People actually are attacking him. Maybe, I don't know, whatever he's done, blah, blah, blah. But just on the things that he's talking about. So if that's a guy who's dedicated on this, and this is what he's receiving, is there really need to speak up?
Yeah, there's always that debate that it's not worth it. Because I think with Morara, I always look at the Morara case the same way I look at the Boni case, where people expect you to talk as long as they don't think you're rich. See, now with Morara, like as soon as people realize he's not a struggling person, they're like, he's bought this Prado using our money. He's bought this house using our money. The same thing with Boni. If you look at anyone who criticizes Boniface Mwangi, it's always been like, have you seen how much land he's selling? Hii ni pesa ametoa. So there's that debate. So it always goes back to success. Are you successful? If right now a poor Morara shows up, everyone will love him.
Yes.
That
But as
was
soon as people realize,
Sekisiwa.
Enda mwamu.
Well, that real.
Mwangi.
Don't wanna see anyone doing good, man.
Yes.
Yes.
so I think that's the case. So as long as uko successful, hakuna mtu anataka story yako. But kiku hapa uko hapa chini, watu watakusikiza. People will be there like, like that, because that reminds me of something. There's something that I think Calligraph said on my podcast. He said that he was afraid of showing his lower side till he saw Octopizo calling himself Ohanga and what. But since now Kali is really big, like someone who I take as a reasonable person, Gabriel Oguda, like the way he took it was like, one of those posh Luos. Huh? But if you listen to the whole conversation, he explained it. Like being a Luo guy, you have to fight. Like every time we hivi, someone comes up with some foreskin jokes, that nonsense. So he explained why he kept it chin.
And around.
But after kuona nani na yo Ohanga was like Omolo, and he just ran with it. But then I remember looking at what Gabriel Oguda said, and I was like, the only reason he said is because this guy is successful. If he wasn't successful, he'd have taken the whole context. So I think the element of success is very important. Like the bigger you get, the more people will go
Come at
their way
you.
to misunderstand you.
When I look at everything we've spoken about, people clearly see media personalities or people in the limelight more as brands than human beings, right? Because you would be able to forgive your cousin or somebody that you see as a human being for something that they said. But if you see them as, and like you've said, once when you're growing, when you're just 100, guys don't care. When you reach 100K, now guys are like, what have they said they started? So, and they don't look at you like a human being. They look at you like you're a brand. And that is very important for us to be able to know, because I feel like the way I see, remember when we started, I said, I feel like there are people who are almost forced to do things because it's what the public wants them to do. And if you understand that they look at you just like a product, then you would never pander to the audience.
Yes.
Right? You know exactly how to maneuver around what I'm able to do and what I'm able to keep for myself. Because at the end of the day, Maze, when you're going down, hello.
By yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think there's that danger of audience capture where it reaches a level where you forget yourself and you just want to please the audience. And I think with podcasting, it's dangerous because I think the reason why they loved you was because you are being yourself.
Exactly.
Now, if you end up being a version of them, they won't love that version. So I think it's a risk we have to take where you are like, yes, I might censor myself on some topics, but I'll always be myself. See, so like for me with politics, I've come to understand today, takuwa umelipwa na Ruto, tomorrow it's going to be asante kwa kupiga Ruto, the next day umelipwa. So it goes through that because people expect you to tell them what they want to hear. She was thrown. Yes, enda mrushe mawe pia mrushe. You understand? But as much as it's a podcast, it's also media. It's also media. So you don't want to be the person encouraging people to use violence. So I think people don't understand that difference, that two things can be right at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't like what the president is doing, but also we should not throw stuff at the president.
So from everything we've talked about, it's clear that cancel culture is, it's a form of accountability, but it's also killing authenticity. Why? Because people are afraid. I can't say this, I can't cross this, I can't do this. And for me, the problem with that is the future, where we know that we have been very vocal, guys are getting less and less vocal. In fact, I've noticed that people are choosing to speak about things that are safe.
Yeah.
What does that do to the things that we should be speaking about, right? For example, fun fact, Kenya, I know we know the stats, right? The amount of money that Kenyans lose annually, right? But the same Kenyans who are watching us are on their way to Dubai. They're on their way, not to Dubai. Qatar. They're on your way to Saudi Arabia to go work, right? While the money that, could be able to provide all the things is here. Do we have people who can speak about it? Yes. Do we know the information? Yes. Now we are left to media houses. And the other day I mentioned, like, for example, when BBC did this documentary, the one thing we know is that it should have been done locally.
Yes.
One Citizen, which pays, they're the largest. They have the resources. They have some of the best journalists. Why aren't they doing it? Right? Is it because of these things that we're speaking about? Are they afraid to be cancelled? Not necessarily by the masses, but even by Gava. Right? So we are
big advertiser.
yeah, we're living in as standard.
Yeah.
As standard newspaper. In fact, if you want to be able to see, Standard seems like it's now saying, okay, all gloves are off. Every headline you see in the Standard is very anti that. But not to mention others. But if you see the others who are getting the funding from Gava, their stories are completely different, right? So because of cancel culture, people are afraid. Yes, it's holding the people who have the power accountable for their words, but it stops them from wanting. Who wants to speak if there's a chance of being cancelled, right? Even if I have 100 followers, if I'm going to be abducted, my parents will start begging on the TV for me. So even that level of authenticity, because when I'm speaking about these issues, I'm coming from an authentic place. I'm like, mbona hizi vitu ziko hivi, but now I can't do that because I can't be bebwad. So I'm worried for the future because it's like there's a fine line between being responsible and being silenced.
Yes.
Right? And that leaves us with, as much as we want to talk about things, you'll find people speaking about things that are not even. Yeah. And that leaves a country or a world with people doing exactly what they want and people being afraid to speak about them.
Yeah, and I think also something that's also very demoralizing is, like you said, when you realize people only want to hear what they want to hear and not the truth. Like there's a lot of times I've wanted to speak up on certain topics and I'm like, I know it's a very unpopular opinion. And if I speak about it, it's just going to end up being like now just a back and forth and people arguing on the comment section. And like, sometimes I just don't have the energy for that. So sometimes if I wake up and I have the energy for it, I'll be like, unpopular opinion, I go, I post it and I move on with my life and I don't engage with the comments and I don't reply to anything. But like 90% of the time, I'm like, if you don't want to hear the truth, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. So sometimes if you hear me being quiet on certain things, it's because you don't want to hear the truth. And I don't have the energy to start arguing with people on the internet. When I was younger, I had all the energy. But now I don't. I honestly don't.
Yeah. And that actually speaks of when millennials and Gen Z were on the street. I know Gen Z will claim they were alone, but we're also there, guys. We couldn't run and escort as fast as you because knees.
Yeah.
Throw some knees in there.
Okay.
But there was the question of where's Gen X? Where's Gen the one before boomers, right? And they're like, wamechoka. Tumekula tear gas now. Now they say let other people speak about it. But then that also brings I hope this helps you understand why your favorite celebrity doesn't speak on certain issues, because one, they're looking after their bag. Two, they're afraid of being cancelled and all these other things, not just by Gava, not just even by their friends. I'm sure you say something that even people around you are like, what? So it is a very fine line. So by the time you see someone actually speaking up about something, that's them saying, you know what, F everything, I'm going to stand for the truth. And by the way, it's not just with celebrities. I've seen even church leaders who are quiet for whatever religious because we live in a very strange time where anything that someone says, there are people policing, and so it becomes difficult. So hey, why don't you let us know in the comment section things that you would want people to speak about, and yes, things that you'd want your celebrities to speak about, which you feel like they failed you on. And also evaluate and see maybe if anything we've spoken about here has helped you understand why they're not speaking about it. But things that you'd love your favorite musicians. Because even like musicians, my goodness, you listen to the music, my guy, it's like we're living in different world. In fact, if you listen to music in Kenya, you think Kenya is popping. Ni landlord pekee ndio anasumbua watu.
But at least it's better than TZ, because TZ uchoma. TZ, everything is mama this, mama that. Everyone is happy with mama. No one cares about Tundu Lissu. I think the closest I had someone defending Tundu Lissu was EU. I think EU, they spoke about him like yes.
Yeah, because he's a nini.
But he said
Yeah. Enyewe Kenya tuko mbele.
Gen X and boomers were not the biggest cowards that people claimed they were. They got rid of Moi. And Moi was not a joke.
Yeah.
So
24 years.
credit
That's
for
not
that.
a small thing.
Yeah.
Shout out
And
to you.
yes, this has been, I mean, Mwaf, you definitely have to come back on the podcast because there's so many things we want to unpack.
Podcast until like Magzi.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's been an amazing one, very sober vibes. And of course, I hope you've learned a thing or two because here we purpose not only to make you laugh and cry, but also to think.
Yeah.
And I hope you've learned a thing or two about cancel culture and the future of freedom of speech. And I feel like this is a conversation around the world. By the way, Nigerians, able hit us up in the comment section. How's life going there? South Africa, I know what's going on in your
Just know
country.
what's
TZ,
up.
hoi. Guys, for UG,
Say something.
Uganda, but do you see Muhozi?
Okay.
Muhozi saying he's going at his Chicago Musev, Nani's bodyguard, Bobby Wine's bodyguard is in his basement.
Stop.
Yeah.
Uganda, what is happening?
So they watch us and, you know, I'm sure you hit us up in the comment section.
Just let us
Malawi
know. Let
was
us know
good
what's been
because
happening.
this is a global issue. And I feel like in Africa, especially, we haven't gotten to Sudan where the TV,
It's completely
you can't
off.
even be a journalist.
Yeah.
You can't even be a journalist. They kill it.
Sudan. South America.
Sudan itself, yeah. Apparently, right now, it's one of the most dangerous countries for a journalist. They kill like about 7. So even to cover the stories there, the reason why you don't hear about Sudan is because there's no one to cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. So
Damn.
this freedom that we experience,
Yeah.
how much freer would you like us to be? Comment section. Remember, guys, we're on our journey to 100,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, again, I want to remind you to hit the subscribe button. Notify people that we're here. Always remember to like and leave a comment because, hey, we want to be as big as MacG.
So, yeah.